12:06 in the afternoon here on 90.3 FM, and it's time for Helping Seniors of Brevard. I'm John Harper. Let me introduce the host of Helping Seniors of Brevard, and as I always like to say, our BOGO, because Kerry Fink is also the Executive Director of Helping Seniors of Brevard. So, Kerry Fink, good afternoon to you. Looking forward to a good show today.
Yeah, thank you, John Harper. It's always a great time of the week. We get to gather around the radio Wednesdays, lunchtime, right here, 12 noon to 1 p.m. on 90.3 FM WEJF. And welcome if you're listening online at WEJF.net. And welcome also if you are finding us as a podcast, maybe shortly after the fact. We called this show today, Don't Miss This, because we are sitting here in basically what amounts to mid-February, and we're going to be talking about some amazing things that are coming up for you to do right here in Brevard County. And so I'm so excited because we're going to be talking today with Giles Malone, who is publisher with Space Coast Daily. And if you are familiar with Space Coast Daily, you already know what I'm talking about. And if you're not, this is a great tool. There's an app. I have it on my phone. You can find it online, spacecoastdaily.com, and then you will be able to be kept up to speed on everything that's going on here in Brevard County. It's a terrific news service, and they do a lot of publishing, but they're also behind some of the really great events here. We're going to talk about that. And also in the studio with me today is none other than world-famous podcaster. Her name is Jen Hardy. You know her as the host of the fabulous Over 50 podcast, and we have a really exciting collaboration that we're going to be talking about today on the radio called the Top 50 Over 50 Podcaster Awards. Welcome to the studio. Jen, how are you today?
Hey, I'm great, Kerry. Thank you so much for having me here.
Yeah, this is really an exciting thing because when you did the entire effort with Fabulous Over 50, you've come in and done some training. You host the Space Coast Podcasters group that meets at Joe's Senior Resource Center, which is where our offices are. And then you have been involved in a number of national podcaster conferences and things like that. And so it's so exciting that a resource like you exists right here in little old Melbourne. And now you're bringing the rest of the world into Melbourne. So we're going to talk about this a lot on today. So I'm looking forward to that. And also want to welcome, he's joining us, is Giles Malone with Space Coast Daily. So Giles is the publisher of Space Coast Daily and spacecoastdaily.com. And like I was mentioning to you, I carry the app. If you have, it doesn't matter if you have an iPhone or a Google phone, you just find Space Coast Daily. Look for that app, and it's great because it'll let you know when there's news going on in Brevard County. They're usually like the first resource that's out there. Jen, are you familiar with Space Coast Daily? It's a terrific service, and they're always like at the forefront of everything that's happening. If you want to know like what's going on out on I-95, why it's stuck, they're usually on top of it before anybody else lets you know what's going on. But also good things that are happening in the community, they're always covering that. They were really kind to us, Jen, last week. He lost our president and founder, Joe Steckler. You know, he had passed away. He was in hospice up with family in Maryland. And as you know, Joe gave so much into the community. Giles was the first one to say, I want to make sure that we honor him. Will you send me some background? And I'm going to get this as a front page story right there on Space Coast Daily. Giles, thank you for doing that for us.
Hello.
Hey, Giles. So we were just talking about that you were so kind to help us with sharing the story of Joe's life and how much he meant into this community. And it was funny because I was saying to folks that in our conversations, you knew him personally and kind of was helping him back in the days when he was Brevard Alzheimer's, and you were connected with the college, and he was doing the TV and all of that out of there.
Yes, Joe was a real gentleman and a real caring person, wasn't he? And he'll be deeply missed. And I met Joe at Florida Tech years ago when I was at MBA school there, and he was really nice, helpful to me, and gave me some good advice and so on. So he'll always be remembered. And They don't make them like that anymore, Kerry.
No, that's true. We were talking when you and I were on the phone last week, and I was saying, it's hard for me to imagine that I met Joe literally 15 years ago when he was first creating Helping Seniors of Brevard. So we've been at this for a minute. But then you and also John Harper, who's the president now of the organization, he was longtime vice president up under Joe. He also goes back to helping Joe get started in all of Joe's efforts to get word out, because Joe was always big about, and we are to this day very much so, big about getting information in the hands of seniors. And it's just a great thing to do, because Joe was such a visionary all those years ago, I think, Giles, when he said we got to do more for seniors 15 years ago. And look at this. Nothing has happened, but we get more and more seniors every day because more people are turning 65. People are just flat living longer. And then now people like all over want to come and move to Florida. And you're seeing that too, Giles, with everything you do with Space Coast Daily, I'm sure.
Yes, I mean, it's a really strong community. We're very familiar with that because of you and all you do, and John and Jim really getting the news out. And so we carry as much of that news as we can on Space Coast Daily, and we look to do more. We have our events coming up, and we have the Key Lime Pie Festival and Strawberry Festival, and they're big favorites of the senior community, of which I'm almost one. And it's a lot of fun, and we're having a lot of fun here on the Space Coast, working with you and all our associates in this.
Giles, we always
ever-growing community we're in.
You said it so well. Giles, we're always talking and bragging about you and Space Coast Daily. In fact, I opened up the show, I was mentioning the fact that I have the app on my smartphone, and you guys really, I don't know how you do it, but you cover everything that's going on in the community. You're like the first news source. I'll get these alerts and I'll be up to speed on something that could be going on in Brevard County that's important for me to know about. Could I ask you to just take a second and kind of outline, in case somebody's listening, they're not familiar with Space Coast? I want to start there. I want to make sure everybody knows what a great resource we have available in this community. I know about it, the app, I know about the website, but you also publish like hard copy paper, and things as well. Can you kind of lead us through that?
Yes. Yeah, thanks, Kerry. Yeah, so Space Coast Daily, my partner Tom and I founded a company back in 2006, and we started out with the magazine. It was called Space Coast Medicine Magazine back then, and it was very successful, and the print products did very, very well. And then we sort of saw this digital tsunami coming early, and we said, if what we need to do is build a digital presence and have something that we can work with and get the word out. So we sort of customized our platform, and it's called SpaceCoastDaily.com is our website. That's sort of our mothership of all of our local news, and we're producing 25 to 35 pieces of original local-oriented news content every day. Our team does that. We have a really strong team of local people who care about this community and live here, and so they're dedicated to bringing unbiased news to the public, news and information that people can use. It's all free. All of our publications are free. Newspapers free, magazines free, and all our online news is free. There's no paywall or anything like that. You just download the free app and you're on Space Coast Daily. And our newspaper, our print newspaper, is published 2 times every month, and it's a very nice tabloid-style newspaper. All local news, and it's mailed. It's a direct mail product. Goes into the mailboxes of 27,000 homes 2 times every month, and it's delivered by the U.S. Postal Service in the mailbox. So it's not thrown on the driveway or anything like that. It's nice and dry, and it's a beautiful news product in print, that you can turn the pages, which is nice. A lot of people like that. And our magazine is Space Coast Daily Magazine. It's right now we have DC Roofing, that lovely family from DC Roofing on the cover, talking about their new family, and that's a 102-page glossy magazine, like a lifestyle magazine, and we publish that 6 times a year, and it's distributed widely as well through direct mail and through drop-off points and our, friends and contacts in the industry. So those are our print products, but we reach people 24/7 through our digital reach, which is SpaceCoastDaily.com, where we where we keep all of our news stories, and then we bring people into the site through social media, through Facebook, where we have 435,000 subscribers on Facebook who subscribe to our news, so they receive it to their smart devices, as it's published, which is basically all day, all night. And then we have Instagram, Twitter, X, and all those other platforms where we have a large following as well. So we're putting out this product, and we try to publish to reflect the values of our community, and it's all very factual, truthful, unbiased, and helpful for people to live their daily lives and know what's going on.
I was thinking, Giles, as you were saying that, Joe will be looking over the banister of heaven smiling, because when he had the vision to create Helping Seniors of Brevard, he said, Kerry, this has to be 100% local to Brevard kind of organization. He said, I want people to be able to get resources and help with things that are local, not like an 800 number necessarily that you see on TV, or somebody who may be an expert in another state but doesn't know what's going on right here. And as you're talking about that, what really occurs to me, even though you guys seem to be on top of everything that's going on national or international news, you're really the resource when it comes to things, because you are 100% local to Brevard, and talking about having that ability to kind of scope out everything that we need to know about when we live right here on the Space Coast. Giles?
Yeah, we try to focus on Brevard County and the Space Coast. We're not too bothered about things that are happening far and wide, but we do cover some national news where it affects people locally. So, but it's a Brevard County site. And like I said, our team, Tom Palermo, my partner, he's a very highly regarded publisher himself. He was managing editor of the Florida Today
for
many years, but don't hold that against me. I'm just kidding. We love our friends at Florida Today. But, so he's very experienced. And, we have Joshua Adams, who is our IT expert, because this site requires a lot of memory. We have literally hundreds of thousands of posts in our archive, and so you can access those all the time. So when we publish a piece of news or something like that, it lives forever. That's a beautiful thing about the digital world, right? So you can search for it on our search bar and find it and use it as a resource. So it's a great library of stuff there. And, Joe Steckler was such a great guy, so caring, and we've got several pieces about him in the past. But yeah, thank you very much for the opportunity, and we'd like to invite everyone out this weekend. We start sort of event season. We have the Space Coast State Fair, which opens up on Friday for 10 days. We have one fair in the spring and one in the fall, and we have a property in Vieira called Space Coast Daily Park, where we house a lot of our events. So this weekend we open up the fair at 5 o'clock, goes for 10 days. It's every day for 10 days, and a lot of specials for people, and so on. And then this weekend we also host the Space Coast Key Lime Pie Festival, which is sort of the theme for the weekend at the fair. So we have a key lime pie baking contest, a key lime pie eating contest, which I'm very good at, and then we also have a cute baby contest, a beauty pageant, and a husband calling contest, which is a new one, which we're going to have a lot of fun with. And Beth York from Space Coast Daily is hosting all of that stuff. We have magic shows and an alligator wrestling show and a critter show, and lots of live music with the Pink Spice Band and Sid Taylor Band and Teddy V and Chris Gifford, and lots of great food, all around the key lime. So key lime pie drinks, key lime martinis, even key lime, all sorts of key lime foods. So it's a lot of fun this weekend. We're looking forward to it, and the weather looks fantastic. And we'd like to invite everyone out. The fair opens at 5 till 11 on Friday, and then opens at 10 a.m. until midnight on Saturday with the Key Lime Pie Festival, and also Sunday, 10 a.m. until late on Sunday with all the festivities. So it's $7 per person to come into the fair and the Key Lime Pie Festival. And then if people want to ride the rides, they can buy tickets or an armband, of course. And then there's all the shows on the inside that I just mentioned are included in the admission charge. And there's a lot to see and do. There's over 150 arts and crafters artisans with all of their things, and just a good time. And these events, Kerry, I mean, you probably realize this, but we kind of, when I had my kids were young, we used to go to the mall, to hang out at the Merritt Square Mall, and we'd walk around, see our friends and family and people from high school. Well, you don't really do that much anymore because of the nature of the way commerce is, but these festivals are times when you see people you haven't seen all year, so it's a nice community gathering point, so we'd like to invite everyone out.
Yeah, these are fantastic events. We've had the pleasure of being out there, and there's nothing lovelier than having a beautiful Saturday afternoon in the park or enjoy a Friday evening there. And when you guys make it as festive as you do with the Key Lime Pie Festival, it's really exciting, and it's very easy, centrally located there right off of I-95 and Vieira, so it's easy to get to. Jen Hardy, who, Giles, is our podcaster friend, and you guys do podcasts. I forgot even to mention that because you guys are very often seen doing podcast kind of things when I catch you on Facebook and things like that. But Jen had a question about this.
Giles, I do. You need to elaborate on this husband calling contest. This sounds very interesting.
So Jen was asking you as because I guess there was particular interest in the husband calling contest that you mentioned. What is that actually all about?
Yeah, the husband calling contest. I was actually out in the Midwest at a festival out there, and it was a riot. I mean, they had about 12 contestants, ladies, and one at a time they brought them up onto the stage and they did their call for their husband. So it was magnificent. I said, we have got to do this in Brevard County. So we're going to have some fun with that, and every wife has their own style and their own volume and their own ways to get husband to come back wherever he may be.
Giles, that is brilliant. I can't wait to go and experience that. Thank you for sharing it with us.
You might go home with a few tips, right? You never know, right?
Well, if you've got the husband call, you better come on down to the Key Lime Pie Fest. It's free to enter that, and we're only going to take 12 entrants, so get down here early. It's going to be a blast.
Practice it up. So again, the dates for the Key Lime Pie Festival, and again, we're talking about right there at Space Coast Daily Park. It's so easy to get to because you can just take one of the two Vieira exits and you're just basically right there. So it's a great location. Like Giles was saying, the weather's going to be great. It's so cost affordable. I don't think you could pick any other kind of activity that's going to give you as much value for the buck. You don't have to drive all the way to Orlando for high quality entertainment and fun. It's right here at home in Brevard County. Giles, again, how do we find out more information? How do we get tickets and all of that?
Well, thank you very much, Kerry, for the opportunity. It's SpaceCoastKeyLimePieFestival.com, and you can always go to SpaceCoastDaily.com and search for it there. But SpaceCoastKeyLimePieFestival.com. There's a lot of information there. The schedule's there, and we're looking forward to it. It should be a wonderful weekend, and I'm saving my calories as we get to the weekend because of the key lime pie. It's my personal favorite.
Yeah, it's not just that, Giles, but then I don't want to get so far ahead. In fact, you should probably come back and we'll talk about this next month. But then you have Strawberry Festival coming up, so you're just it's like one great event after another.
Yep, the Strawberry Festival, SpaceCoastStrawberryFestival.com is the information site for that, and that's March 15, 16, so about a month away. We're actually growing. We purchased 6,000 strawberry plants from California, and we put in irrigation and a whole strawberry patch, and we're avidly growing our strawberries over here at Space Coast Daily Park, and Chris Gifford, who's been babying these things for the last 3 months. So we're hoping to have lots of strawberries for people to pick when they come out to the Strawberry Festival with a bucket. You can get a bucket, and you go through the strawberry field, and you pick your strawberries, and you pay for $5 a pound for your strawberries. So it's a lot of fun. When I was a kid, I used to do that with my mother and father in England at Cheddar Gorge, which is a famous place where the cheddar comes from, near my hometown, and we used to go pick strawberries there, and I always have fond memories of that. I think it's a great activity. especially with the children.
Wow, that takes that to a whole nother level. I didn't realize that was part of the festival. I mean, we always get that springtime strawberries are in season, and we love to go fetch them. But now, this is like a family event. You can show the kids how this all works, and bring back some childhood memories, and whether it's the kids, grandkids. What a great concept, Giles.
Well, I'm learning about farming, Kerry, and I got a new healthy respect for farming. I can tell you that.
Wow. So Giles Malone with Space Coast Daily, we are so grateful for you taking time. I know how much you have on your plate, but thank you, first of all, for honoring Joe in making that an important part. He meant so much to us. And as I said to you, now all of us are committed to we have big shoes to fill, but we're committed to doing that to honor Joe. And I just appreciate all that you do in the community, just for everybody of all ages. But thank you too. We're excited because I know this is a conversation that's going to keep going forward. We were talking, as we talked about Joe's legacy, how we really want to bring things closer together and do more that we can figure out how we can make life better for seniors in Brevard. So, Giles, I really want to thank you again for coming and sharing about Space Coast Daily and this exciting Key Lime Pie Festival and the everything that's just beginning to happen this weekend. Thank you, Giles, again for being with us today.
Thank you so much, Kerry. God bless you, and we'll be thinking of Joe as we go forward. Thanks again. Appreciate
Absolutely. Thanks, Giles. And we're going to be back on the second half of the Helping Seniors Radio Hour. We're going to be visiting with Jen Hardy, and we're talking about, don't miss this. We just talked about the Key Lime Pie Festival. We just talked about Strawberry Festival. We just talked about Space Coast Daily. And when we come back, we're going to be talking about the top 50 over 50 Podcasters Awards. Stick with us here on 90.3 FM, WEJF.
And as we get back into the second part of Helping Seniors of Brevard for this Wednesday, Kerry, Fink, good conversation there with Giles Malone at Space Coast Daily. They did a nice feature on Joe Steckler.
Yeah, they sure did. And, it was really, what I really enjoyed maybe even the most about that is the fact that Giles had such a great remembrance of Joe personally. Like everybody who met Joe has a great remembrance of Joe. He just had such a big heart and a big footprint and a big passion. I was having a conversation with somebody yesterday. I said, if you look up in the dictionary the definition of the word tenacious, there'll be a picture of Joe right there. Because when Joe was like, we got to do this, he would just stay on it, and we would all work really hard, and it would get done. Look at what they've done already in this county. Joe, in the mid-'90s, he comes out of the very successful career in the Navy, and he can't stay retired, so what does he do? He gets the whole Brevard Alzheimer's thing running. They call them Joe's Clubs to this day. And then literally 15 years ago, after he'd retired from that, then he says, we got to do more for seniors. He gets us going with the Helping Seniors organization. And, I guess it was a Christmas before last, we actually dedicated the whole Senior Resource Center. Now we call it Joe's Senior Resource Center, and Lord willing, that's going to live on for years and have the impact that Joe has always envisioned, because he said, you got to get people together who understand what seniors need and make it all happen. And so it was really such a pleasure to talk with Giles, because he got it as well, 100%.
I totally agree, and Joe certainly is missed greatly, but he may be gone, but will never be forgotten, and we'll keep that candle burning brightly for Joe for the next generations to come, and you and I will pass the torch to someone else and just keep it going.
Yeah, but this is important, because I said, I always called Joe a visionary, because he was talking about this 15 years ago, and like we say today in the Helping Seniors world, AARP sends you a card and calls you a senior at age 50 on your birthday, whether you're insulted or not. They just do it. And so, but think about that. 1 in 2 people in our county is already over the age of 50. And, in a lot of our materials, John, as you know, we're not anti-kids at all. We love kids, want the best for them. But we have more seniors over 65 than we do school-age children in this county. So what Joe was always kind of giving us the battle cry for is we've got to do more for seniors. We say it takes a village to help kids grow up the right way, but I think we owe the same to our seniors. It takes a village, John.
Didn't you? It sure does. Didn't you have a story or someone out of Joe's family had spoken to you just prior to Joe's passing about Joe was still in the center where he was located up in Virginia? Is that what it was?
It's Maryland. But
Maryland.
yes.
And he had something to say or told Terry to make sure that something is done?
100%, and I hope we're able to connect all the dots. Joe is up there. He's on hospice. He's good. It's interesting because, as you know, when we talked with him, he said, "Kerry, I've run my, I believe in the Bible, but the Bible says, I've run my race. I've done what I'm supposed to do here." Joe was totally at peace about this, but that didn't stop Joe from working, right? So he is literally calling. It's his son and their family that was trying to help make sure everything is okay, not only with Joe, but Terry as well. And so Joe had called him in and said, "I need you to help me. I'm going to dictate some articles so I can tell people what they need to be doing for seniordom." So we actually have those, and he said, "I'm getting those to you." So I'm really hoping in the next little bit we're going to actually have some words of wisdom from Joe that we're going to be able to share as we go along here. So
that's good. That's great, and that certainly shows how up to almost his last breath, he was still very much interested and involved with helping seniors of Brevard.
It was never about Joe. It was always about the seniors, and I think that is so important for us to remember. And what I'm really excited about is sometimes out of trouble comes good things. And I thought this was really great that I had the opportunity for us to reconnect. And I know you had been talking with Giles as well, but I really believe as important as Space Coast Daily is in this community, there's a great opportunity for us to work together to get better information in the hands of seniors. And I think there's going to be some things that we're going to be able to open up and work on together. There's, what I said to Giles when we had him on the radio is I love the fact that you're 100% local, which is exactly what Joe had said. You got to have all life is lived local. This from being a broadcast. You've been national, but you understand local radio because you're the longest running talk show host here in Brevard County. You get it better than anybody.
Well, sometimes I do, I think, but nonetheless, we really admire all the things that Joe Steckler did throughout the years, throughout the decades, and we're all the better for it.
It's all the best. And, Joe, literally one of the last conversations I had with him, he said, "Kerry," he said, it takes a lot of money to keep nonprofit going. He said, "You've got to get out there." He goes, "Use my name, pull whatever heartstrings you can, just keep it going." And so that's what it's all about. Actually, this one of the things I'm really excited about now is, as you know, we called it Joe's Senior Resource Center. So we have been building and working on a podcast studio there. We've already done some TV programs. We've also done some podcasts. And one of the people that we were so fortunate to meet is Jen Hardy, who is the podcaster of Fabulous Over 50. Not only have you already come in and helped us with some AI classes, because you did some masterclass work on that and are kind of like really on the cutting edge of everything technologically, but you also have a heart and a passion for those of us over 50, to the point that not only are you representing all of that when you go to these national podcaster, international podcaster things all over the world. You just got back from a big thing in Vegas. Talk about the work that you do in Fabulous Over 50 and how it's led to this really exciting thing that's coming up.
Well, yeah, it's interesting, Kerry, because there's not as many podcasters over 50 as one might expect. Or maybe, depending, because some people that are older, tech is a little bit scary. Podcasting is really not that hard, though. And you were talking about Joe and the legacy he left.
Yep.
And there's one thing I would love to tell everybody listening is that it would be easy to start a podcast, and it's a wonderful legacy for your family, if nothing else, to share your wisdom and share your stories, and that is something. But I have had the opportunity to travel all over the country, and I'm actually going to London to the podcast show to bring our Fabulous Over 50 to Europe in May. So that's going to be very exciting.
Cool.
And I just have a heart for people over 50 because they are definitely underserved. And the one thing a lot of the podcasters over 50 have been asking me is please tell companies we want them to market to us. We want them to recognize us. We want to be noticed. And so out of that came the Gold Mic Awards, which is the top 50 over 50 podcaster awards. And I am thrilled that we are now in international awards. We have people from 3 continents that have been nominated. And instead of just having a virtual event, which is going to be amazing, we are also having an in-person event at Joe's Senior Resource Center. And we are going to turn that into an epic gala. It is going to be absolutely stunning. And I invite everybody who's listening to purchase a ticket. You can go to 50 over 50 Podcaster Awards, which is long. And there will be, well, I don't know how we can't, I'm used to saying there will be a link, but there won't.
We'll make links
we'll
up.
Make it,
It'll
we'll
be
make
all
it happen.
over Helping Seniors stuff. Yeah.
But it'll be, go to the Helping Seniors website. We'll have something there. We would love for you to join us. It's going to be a time where you can dress up and get to know everybody. We're going to have a photographer there and some wonderful food with Chef Jillian. And it's just going to be an incredible night to celebrate those over 50 in the tech world, which you don't hear very often.
No, and it's so important because Joe was always talking about the importance of socialization and interaction, and we actually adopt this ourselves. We say about this aging plan stuff, don't try this on your own. Get with people who are like-minded and make this all work. And one of the things that I love about this is that for those of you that don't know much about podcasting, it's really kind of the conglomeration of radio and TV and all these things, and people find it every place. They find it on Apple iTunes, they find it on Spotify, they find it on iHeartRadio. You hear some of those big names, a lot of times when you go to a news channel and they talk about so-and-so in their podcast. But the beautiful thing about podcasts is there's podcasts for every interest in the world that's out there. And so it's wonderful to see you kind of galvanizing around the concept of the top 50 over 50. And the thought that I wanted to bring up is most of us are familiar with Oscars or Grammys, or it's like an award show where everybody hobnobs and you see who their peers have selected as the best of the best. And it's always exciting to see that. And what's cool about the Podcast Awards is while you're going to have thousands, if not tens of thousands of people all over the globe. I know you were telling me you're getting entries from literally Australia and all over. So it's really an international, and it's actually happening at 8 p.m. at night because you've got to make accommodation for all the people on the West Coast who are tuning in. But it's happening from right here in Melbourne, Florida. So for those of us who are here, we get to go and have fun that night.
Yeah, it is going to be so incredible. I am so excited. And we're partnering with some local business owners as sponsors so that we can just make this the most incredible event ever. And we're going to have a silent auction that's going to benefit Helping Seniors of Brevard. And that is honestly one of the things I am most excited about, because not only are we honoring the people in the podcast world, but also we're going to be helping local people. And I think that that is so very important. And also, Kerry, I wanted to answer the question that is asked of me all the time, which is, what is a podcast?
Yes, please.
Because a lot of people don't know. And they say, you talk about these words, we don't even know what they mean. So think about this. Do you remember back in the day when you could listen to a radio show and maybe they acted it out or they told a story and you thought, oh man, I wish I could have heard that whole thing because you turned it on and it was halfway over, or you had to get out of the car before you could hear the end. Well, a podcast is just like that show, but you can turn it on anytime you want. And they're now becoming video, which I don't know as a podcast purist. I think of them as being audio, but they are now on YouTube. And I actually have a video podcast on YouTube that we talk to judges and interview judges, which is very interesting. And so you can find them on YouTube. You can find them everywhere. And just Google podcasts and any topic you want, and you're going to find literally thousands of things you can listen to. And what I like, especially for seniors, if you're having a down day, if you're not mobile, you can turn in on a podcast and you can travel anywhere in the world listening to that show. And I think that that is a gift that podcasts give.
As you were saying that, I was thinking is one of the reasons that I usually point out we make our radio shows available as podcasts for that very reason. So, because a lot of times traditionally with radio, you'll be out, maybe in a store store shopping and you'll come back out to your car, you flip the radio on, and you get into the middle of a good conversation, but then you say, oh, I wish I could hear the beginning of that because it's so good. Or a lot of times you'll hear it and say, I know who needs to hear this. Fred needs to hear what they're talking about right now. But if it's just a radio broadcast, it's here and gone. But the very fact that we take our shows and we make them available as podcasts, because we've learned this now in 15 years of helping seniors, a lot of times a situation will crop up, and then that's the moment somebody says, I need to access that information because now it's relevant to me and what's going on in my life. That's why we archive everything and we make the podcast available. But what's really exciting about the whole thing that you've got coming up with the top 50 over 50, this is going to be like a really, even though you're saying you don't have to get a tux, you could just be business casual for this. You're really trying to make it a gala kind of a fun event. Talk about just how you're going to transform our whole center, which we love anyway. We're so grateful to Omni Healthcare for making that space available because it's making such an impact in the community. But it really is kind of an elegant building. You know, you can drive up under the portico. I think you were saying you're going to have valet parking and all. Talk about all this.
So since we're on radio, I can give you a picture. So when you pull up to the center, we're going to have valets park in the car, and they will show you where to go to the elevator. And when you get off the elevator at the second floor, you are going to walk down a long hallway, and it's a red carpet. So everyone who comes gets to walk the red carpet, and there's going to be banners and everything that just is elegant and brings you in to the party. And then when you get to the end of the hallway, you will give your name to the person with the clipboard, because as any good party, your name has got to be on the list, and it will be when you have your ticket. And then you're going to go to the step and repeat. And for those of you who don't know, that is the big sign with all the logos that you would take a picture at the Oscars or the Grammys, and you will have your photograph professionally taken by our photographer who's going to be there, and then proceed to where our mocktails are prepared by a robot. So we've got robots pouring drinks, and we're going to add some edible glitter to our signature mocktails for the evening, and then you'll roam about and meet everyone else, and it's just going to be incredible. We're going to cut all the lights, remove the normal furniture, bring in some new things and some twinkle lights, and we're going to transport you to an elegant night among the stars.
Yeah, I think if I'm remembering correctly, the evening starts like 7:30-ish or so, but then the actual podcast awards show begins at 8 o'clock. So what's going to happen, of course, that's going out on the, as they call it, the World Wide Web. And so there's going to be people tuning in literally from all over the world, including a fairly large contingent from out on the West Coast. So that's why you made it 8 o'clock. So it's only 5 o'clock. They're getting it early. But for those of us in the room, we're going to have just a wonderful evening because we're going to be able to, I think we can only accommodate like 100 people or so. So it's going to be pretty much standing room only. And then they're going to be like right there as this happens. So there's going to be some great stuff, some great surprises happening on the stage there. It just seems like and then of course you've got the after party that's coming up where everybody will let it all hang out after the Podcasters Awards, right?
Yes. Yeah. We're going to go off site for that, because it is going to be a dry event for many reasons, but we are going to make it so fun that if you're a drinking person, you're not even going to notice the difference. It's going to be wonderful. We are going to have so many epic things going on. And 1 hour of the show will be pre-recorded. It'll be on screens, but we don't expect everyone who comes to sit for an hour and a half. This is going to be a mingling event where you can talk to everybody in about 30 minutes, where we announce the top 3 winners and some very special global awards that we're giving away. Those are going to be things that everyone is going to want to hear because they're going to be very exciting.
Yeah, this is really neat. And what I love about this is that it's setting Melbourne, Florida. You know, you think about it, like all those years ago, Hollywood became Hollywood for motion pictures and things because why? The weather was right, cameras were finicky, but you'd have more sunny days. And over the years, it became the big thing to go to Hollywood. And every place sort of becomes a place that you descend upon for some big deal, whatever it is. And I think it's just a wonderful thing that now for the fabulous over 50 and then now the top 50 over 50 podcasts, all this is coming right out of here, out of Melbourne. And nothing would be a better honor or testimony to Joe and everything we're trying to do in helping seniors than see Melbourne become a place that people go like, those people know how to do senior stuff right. We already know everybody wants to come to the beach, so you've got all these people who are coming in from out of town. They're going to be staying beachside, enjoying all the stuff. We get to live where other people like to come for vacation.
We do. Our family actually vacations right here in Indialantic because we love the Space Coast so much. We've decided, this is our permanent home, and we love it more than anywhere else. And so that's where we've chosen to bring all of our VIPs that are coming in from all over the country, and a few from different places in the world. I can't even believe it, Kerry. It's going to be so incredible.
And I think even we were talking during that afternoon leading up to the podcast, a number of these podcasters who have huge followings, they're actually going to be in town, and they're actually going to be borrowing our studio so that they can do special editions of their podcast right from there on site at Joe's Senior Resource Center.
Oh my goodness, yes. And I was talking to one of my friends, Christina. She has the Health, Wealth, and Happiness Interviews That Inspire podcast, and she's in the Philippines right now at a creator conference that they've just started this year. It's happening this weekend, and she's going to fly in from Washington, D.C., and she was so thrilled when I told her about being able to use that studio for an hour. So I think that's another reason that people are just thrilled to come in. And that's part of the reason why we're having it there, so that people can come in and they can see the studio and they can realize that, yes, we're helping seniors, but we are also state of the art.
I love being kind of high tech because, I always make the argument that everything in life is forcing you a little bit more high tech. Your doctor's appointments, they want you to schedule everything, pay your bill on your little smartphone or whatever, and then they come back to you and your prescription, is it going to be ready at the drugstore? They want you to check your smartphone for that. Everything, it doesn't matter. Check your insurance card now is on your smartphone. All these things. So as we go forward, it makes sense for seniors to get involved in tech. This is a fun and friendly way to do it. If you're here locally, how do you get involved in this? How do you get a ticket to come out to this thing? Again, it's Friday night. It's March the 26th?
The 28th. It's
28th,
Friday night.
28th. It's a Friday night. We're going to have it right there at Joe's Senior Resource Center, 1344 South Apollo Boulevard. We take over the second floor because everybody will have gone home. So the place is ours, and we're just going to have a wonderful gala evening there. But how do people find out more and get involved?
That is a really good question, Kerry. And let me tell you what, this is a very long thing to enter into your internet. So I'm wondering if we could put a link on Helping Seniors.
We will, 100%.
It would be so easy because it's the 50over50podcasters.com is where you can go. And there is everything there. You can nominate someone there. You can become a judge. We could use more judges if you would like to judge the podcast. We do have an objective judging criteria. We're doing a little bit different than a lot of other shows do. You can also become a sponsor, and that would be wonderful. And some of that money does go back to Helping Seniors of Brevard.
Thank you.
So everything that we're doing, and again, I have to mention the silent auction. That money is also going to go to Helping Seniors of Brevard to enhance their facility because they are doing such incredible things. And we want to make sure that we don't just have a fun party, which it's going to be, but that we're also helping people while we do it.
As you were saying that, I was thinking about, first of all, thank you for allowing us to be the object because, as Joe said, you got to raise money when you're a nonprofit. Everything helps, but I love this because this is kind of state of the art. It's cutting edge. It's an opportunity for us to become leaders in all this. And I was thinking as you're going through this, people really want to get involved. I always give people a couple of ways because a lot of times, you could be driving. You might not have a pencil handy when we start throwing stuff out. So I always encourage people to get to know our senior information helpline number. I'm going to say that in a minute because I'm giving you a second to see if you can grab a pencil and a place to write this down. This number is a good number also to try to commit to memory simply because anytime you hear anything, it might have been something we talked about with Giles in the first half of the show and you wanted more information about the Key Lime Pie Festival or any of the things that we were chatting about. Or you just want to get information about the 50 over 50 top 50 over 50 podcasters awards show. A great number to know is 321-473-7770. I'm going to say that number again, 321-473-7770. That is, in fact, the Helping Seniors Information Helpline. We've been having that same number now for 15 years and over 4,000 calls every year from seniors and families asking for help with stuff. But occasionally we'll get calls just from somebody who said, I heard you guys talking about the Podcasters Awards. How does that work? And Karen, or one of our excellent team of volunteers, will be happy to share all that information, make sure you get pointed in the right direction. In fact, what we do, Jen, we tell people say, what does Helping Seniors do? We call ourselves, we do senior navigation. We're always just trying to help people get from where they are to a solution that's going to make a difference. And so it's a great number to have, 321-473-7770. The other great thing to keep in mind if you have access to a smartphone, a computer, a tablet, is Helping Seniors of Brevard. helpingseniors.org, because we put everything there. You know, Jen, if we're talking about our big fundraiser of the year, the Helping Seniors car raffle, and I would be remiss if I didn't give you, since supposedly you have a pencil in hand, if I didn't give you the date for that. It's going to be Sunday, October 26, 2025. Yes, we're going to be right back at the American Muscle Car Museum. You can get all that information at helpingseniors.carraffle.com. But literally my point was, Helping Seniors of Brevard.org, we put everything up there. I don't care if we're talking about the Helping Seniors Foundation cruise. By the way, there's a whole travel thing coming up on April 5th. We're going to talk about that probably on our next show. But I'm excited about all the things. There's so many great things. That's why we called this show Don't Miss This, because you heard all the stuff that Giles was talking about coming up with the Key Lime Pie Festival, the Strawberry Festival, everything going on with the state fair. And then we're talking about this great opportunity that we have to meet people from all over the world, some who are going to come right here in person, but many that we meet just because of the amazing quality of what we're able to do technologically wise. It's really bringing the world together for good for seniors, Jen.
I think so. And if you're home and you're not able to get up and go out and do things, you're going to be able to participate in this gala the entire time.
Right.
Because we're going to live stream it. It's going to be on YouTube on 2 different channels. And Kerry will be sharing so much more about that as the time comes. But it's going to be so exciting. And so if you're thinking, but I can't go and I wish I could do something like that, you can. And we will immerse you in it live. And you'll be able to be there as people are winning and seeing what people are wearing, and it's just going to be amazing. We'll give you the red carpet experience. We will walk you down the hallway and everything with us.
Yeah, it's great. Jen Hardy, podcaster. JenHardy.net is actually your site. Thanks for joining us. We're going to come back and we'll talk about this next month, actually, before we get there. So that's the time we have for the show today. Thank you so much for joining us right here on the radio. We'll see you back here next Wednesday, 12 noon. Have a great week until then.